Good evening and welcome to the May 5th, 2022 meeting of the Mellon County Legislative District Revision Commission. Will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Colby.
Here.
Mr. Colby is present. Chairwoman Lamar.
Good evening and welcome to the May 5th, 2022 meeting of the Mellon County Legislative District Revision Commission. Will now come.
Ms. Nicolay.
Here.
Ms. Nicolay is present. Ms. Ortiz.
Here.
Ms. Ortiz is present. Ms. Roman.
Here.
Ms. Roman is present.
I would like to welcome those in attendance this evening and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As you may know, this is the fourth of 6 public meetings for public input of the Redistricting Commission. The commission will consider the public comments prior to releasing the proposed changes in the boundaries of the legislative districts. The redistricting plan will be adopted as local law, and the public will have the opportunity to comment on the proposed plan as part of the official public hearing in the adoption of the local law. I would also like you to know that the law authorizing the new district boundaries is subject to permissive referendum. I want to thank Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Nicolay again for compiling all of the recommendations for our vendor, Arc Bridge. They have provided the commission with a draft map for the county legislative district. The draft map is available to view at monroecountyredistricting.com, as well as in person at the 6 public input sessions. Tonight, members of the community can give public input on the draft maps, both in person and on Zoom. I ask that everyone please be patient, as anyone that wishes to be heard will do so. We will ask members of the community participating on Zoom, and then once everyone has their chance to speak, we will conclude with the in-person speakers. I would now like the clerk to proceed with asking anyone on the Zoom if they wish to address the commission.
You'll have 3 minutes to give your remarks. If anybody says anything inappropriate or goes too far over minutes, we will have you muted. We only have one that called and asked to speak beforehand, so he can go first, and that is Ken McDonald.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. I just want to say I'm a resident of Arundequoit. I'm a member of the Mellon County Democratic Committee. I'd like this commission to understand that any talk of reducing the number of the city-based legislators from 9 to 8 would be just a transparent attempt to take political enemies. The law says incumbents should not be favored or disfavored. Eliminating a district would definitely disfavor an incumbent. In the city where the census definitely undercounted anywhere, is believe it drastically undercounted in the first place. So we don't want to take a district away from the city. We disenfranchise those voters. The maps that were presented, there's no perfect maps, but they look to be acceptable. I don't see a reason to take away this another voice from the city and further silence those residents. So I just want to make sure that the committee understands that is not what we're hoping will happen here today.
Thank you. I will now call on names. I'll try and go in order, and if I miss you for some reason, just raise your hand towards the end and I'll make sure we get to you. The first name I see is Linda. Linda, are you there?
Maybe she just want
If
to make
not,
comments.
Let them know they don't want to make a comment, just.
If you don't want to make a comment, so I'll come back to your name, and if you don't want to speak, just let us know. Next name we see is Owen Altland.
Yep, I'm here. Thank you for listening to me for a few minutes. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo what Ken just said. I'm not as concerned with whether it's Republican or Democrat or what the motivation is, but as a city resident, I'm concerned going from 9 to 8. I just feel that the legislature already, there's no possibility for the city to have a majority in the legislature. So by going down to 8, we're again losing a candidate. And I know I'm in the 23rd, and I just really appreciate all the work that I get from Linda Hasman. I know others, love their representative as well. And just so seeing one of those 9 have to leave, I think is just not in the best interest of city residents. And that's all I have to say.
The next name I see is Michael Slade.
Good evening. Like a broken record, I'm going to talk about compactness. How did it come about that compactness was not considered? In any of these districts, there are no changes that indicate compactness was done. Required by law, how did it come about? I've spoken to 2 of the 5 members of this commission. They both voted in favor to make sure it was. Who are the other 3? The majority. Why is not compaction being included? It's part of the law. You need to follow it. You need to go back and redo your maps from the beginning, including this most important consideration that's in both the county charter and in the state law. You've done yourself a disfavor by not starting until March. Now, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to finish by June 11th. With the way the maps are set up, you do not have the vote of the county executive. He's likely to veto it. You will not be able to do anything by June 11th. This is going to go to court. It is a shame that you have waited so long to get started and that the majority is unwilling to compromise so that the full legislature will approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Art North.
Yes, I just asked you a few questions. I think I wrote, you probably got them in front of you. The model that you use for doing this, because of course, most of us are clueless as to how you do redistricting. I see you basically touched up what you had. I think a more equitable and diverse approach would be to use the center of the city with pie-shaped cuts throughout the county to give every particular district a diversity economically, racially, and whatever. I suspect that you didn't have time to do that, going along with what Mike said. I don't know what compactness means. I'm sorry, I'm ignorant of this, as I think probably most of the people are. But maybe you may want to reconsider this for the next redistricting. I'm also concerned about how come Penfield and Shiloh are connected through their through one of the districts. It seems to me to be a little bit of a reach. And that's basically all I have to say, but I would like to know what compactness means. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Pat. And Pat, before you go, can you tell me your last name? If you are going. I will come back. Next is Bruce Mellon.
Yes, good evening. I want to react a little bit to Ken and Owen's. I do not agree with their rationales on not going away from 9 and going to 8. It does not leave a legislator hanging. It may resign them a little bit, and it also is assuming that the previous district lines have been drawn correctly, which we don't believe they have been. I think it splits the representatives' values between the city and suburbs. So I think the district lines should not cross the city lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kay Donovan. And can you just say your first name before you go?
Yes, hi, it's Kate Donovan. Thanks for having can you hear me? Okay, thanks for having a Zoom meeting and giving us the opportunity to communicate with the commission in this way. My only comment is that I had contacted the commission to see if I could obtain shape files or like a block assignment file. It's very hard to analyze proposed maps or analyze current maps without that kind of data. And so I hope the commission considers sharing that kind of data either via email or by posting it publicly on the website. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to ask her? She's the chair. Who's next? Our next speaker is Paul Minor. I can come back to you before we end. Our next speaker is Ann Casey. Okay, move on. Dana Wise.
No comment, thank you.
Richard Millard. Okay. And then we have Alan. Can you just say your last name before you start?
Alan Krisiloff. My only comment is to express continued disappointment of the splitting up of different populations rather than trying to organize representation from cohesive towns, villages, or neighborhoods.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna cycle back to the people that I called earlier that didn't say anything to see if you do. So we'll go back to Linda.
Thank you very much for coming back to me. I had just stepped out to get a water. I concur with what I've heard so far. It concerns me that the heart of our county, Rochester, would lose any legislative representation. Everything we do has to focus on the city. I am concerned that some of the districts that have drawn, it appears to be, okay, we just got to wrap this up. District 14, I don't understand, if I'm reading this correctly, this map, how it can go from all the way from Chi-Li through Brighton and up into Penfield. That is just a very strange district, regardless of who represented that. It just, like I said, it just appears that it was okay, let's just get this last one done. That really needs to get some further reviews of it. And again, going back to the city, don't split up towns. I appreciate the hard work that you've all done. I know it's tough to look at this and not divide. Somewhere a line's got to get drawn, but I do believe there's still some work that you could do to improve this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Going back, we have Pat. Seeing none from Pat. Paul Minor. Nothing. Ann Casey. And then the last one that we missed was Richard Millard, which I don't even know if I see. Legislator Davecchio Hoffman, did you have something you wanted to say?
Thanks for asking. I'm just here to observe.
Oh, it looks like we had someone else join. Judy Weinstein, do you have any comments? Seeing none, that will conclude our virtual portion. We will now go over to in-person. We had one person sign up for in-person. That is Terrence Schnur. You can speak. Okay, we'll call on you after. Yes. Thank you.
This morning, I emailed a link to a map I posted online that I drew based specifically on the Section 34(4) of Municipal Home Rule Law that governs your job. The law creates 6 tiers of considerations that it explicitly requires be prioritized in order. First tier is population parity. Second is non-dilution of minority votes. Third is contiguity. Fourth is compactness. Fifth is an array of things like not favoring or disfavoring parties or candidates, respecting municipal lines, cores of districts, communities of interest. Sixth tier is facilitating election administration. On Tuesday, I spoke to you at the Jackson Center about compactness. Tonight, I'd like to speak about what should essentially be your highest priority, given that, as to paraphrase Justice O'Connor, population parity is not a consideration, it's the purpose of redistricting. So, non-dilution of minority vote. First of all, in the Latino community. The Latino community has existed in this county since the 1890s, when Puerto Ricans began to migrate to the United States when the island was still a territory of Spain. Even though the first Latino member of the Board of Supervisors lost a 1966 primary for the first county legislature by just 14 votes, it was not until 1999 that the first Latino was elected to the Monroe County Legislature, Jose Cruz. Since the legislature was established 55 and a half years ago, the 5 legislators, Latino legislators who have served a total of less than 16 years. The plan that's been presented cracks Latino vote in Northeast Rochester almost equally. It's easily possible, as I have on this map, to create a Latino opportunity district in Northeast Rochester with somewhere between 37 and 40% of the voting age population being Latino. While Black community has been more consistent in being able to elect its candidates of choice over the last 55 and a half years, we still need to be concerned about that. The Supreme Court in Bartlett versus Strickland and reaffirmed in Cooper versus Harris makes clear that where it is possible to create a district with 50% or higher of a particular minority population in the voting age population, it is strongly presumed to be required. This map contains one such district, that map contains 3. I could say more, but I'm clearly out of time, so thank you.
Come on up.
All right.
That's fine.
Brought visual aid tonight. Get a little organized here. Good evening. I'm Dave Garrettson. Greece Part 2.
So last night we spoke a little bit about Greece. I spoke about Greece, and I talked about the difference between the type of communities we have on the east part of town versus the west part of town. And I hope you can see this. This is the pre-2011 map of the county legislature. And at that time, and this is the town of Greece. That's a town border, that's a town border. At that time, we had 2 districts that were entirely within the town of Greece, 2 that were mostly in the town of Greece, and another that had a few EDs. This is 7, 6, 5, which is no longer in Greece, 19, and then 26 picked up the crumbs at the time. You'll notice that these are compact districts. They represented the communities of interest, as I understand it, that exist in Greece, with the waterfront communities and the Western people, the more affluent, being in a district, the lower socioeconomic, the working class folks being in this district, the sort of in between. In Greece, as you go from east to west, the houses get newer and bigger. So this is what we had. There was a problem in this setup. In these eastern districts, they were competitive. You could elect a Democrat or a Republican in those districts. And in fact, that's what happened in 07. A Democrat got elected to this district. So when it was time to redistrict in 2011, that's what happened. You know, in redistricting, there's something you're never, ever supposed to do. And that's redistrict on the basis of political party. But that's exactly what happened. We went from these compact districts, and here's District 6 where I live. And I'm sorry, but these colors printed a little too similar. This is District 6 as it exists, as it was drawn in 2011, and as you propose to largely keep it, this horseshoe-shaped district. We came in and took the heart out of that district, where by coincidence, a lot of registered Democrats live. And we took this part, that's where I live right there. We took this part here, this is District 19, and took some of those Democrats, cracking and packing, this is cracking, and we extended this out, and you don't see it on this map, but it goes out into Parma, 2 miles. This is District 7, no longer up at the lake. It now goes into Charlotte as it did before, and I call this one the funnel. And it takes in all of these affluent west side people and takes this sort of core here and breaks them up. District 1, I'll just wrap this up in District 1 takes in the waterfront and goes out into Parma, takes in the entire town of Parma almost. It goes 5 miles past the Greece town line. And last week we have District 20, which takes another piece here, cracks those by combining them all the way out into the town of Sweden, 9 miles past the Greece town line. These are the 2011 lines. This was blatant gerrymandering, and the current proposal is that we memorialize this and make that gerrymandering permanent. That's wrong. It's wrong in Greece. It's wrong in the other sections where we're keeping the wrong portions of that old map. It's wrong when it happens in Albany with the congressional lines. It's wrong when it happens here. So I encourage you to rethink this. Thank you. Whoops. Did I kick out the?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. Apologize for going over.
Hi, I'm Mary Coffey, Coffey, and mine is a lot smaller, and I'm talking about community and neighborhood. I'm co-chair of North Winton Village neighborhood in Rochester, New York. And we've worked back since the 90s to bring our neighborhood together. And I'm proud to say in National Real Estate magazine, North Winton Village was picked number 12 and the hottest neighborhoods in the United States of America that people wanted to move into. And that is because it's a good community of everybody working together. And all of a sudden, there's a line. We're divided in redistricting. There was a little part that was in 21 and most was in 23. So I thought, well, we'll bring them back, 21 into 23, where most are. And when we started working, we saw the city had chopped us up too. So when you're looking at city maps, you might see what you think are neighborhoods, but they're chopped up. In fact, I have a letter from Calvin Knight, who is the head of our neighborhood, our service center, who's saying he's putting them all back together. Who did it? I don't know, but we found out when we started looking at the redistricting, but they've divided us more. Together you can do, divided you can't. We want to go back in and we want to all be part of 23. We wrote a letter to the state and that we wanted to be part of 23 because we felt, which is one of the reasons in the districting, our philosophical differences were with 21 were more than with 23. We ourselves walked our streets and the citizens helped us clear out the drug world out of North Winton Village. We ourselves walked the streets, did the code violations, got rid of the absentee landlords that were destroying our neighborhood. And we worked together as a community. And that's how we run the state. So will you keep us together? Or at least try? Please.
We'll look at all possibilities.
Do you want the thing from Calvin that we're back together and what the map line should be?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make a copy once we have enough.
If you only have one copy, give it to him.
Yes,
He'll
yeah,
copy it
yes.
for us.
All
Make
right.
sure we all get one.
Thanks. All right, this is from Calvin today, saying they're all back together. And this was to our board on what we found we were all divided. And this is what we wrote to the state. All right, so keep us together. Together we can pull this up. You're very nice. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak either on Zoom or in person before we close this up? That hasn't been able to speak.
There being none, this concludes the public hearing. I would like to thank everyone for their participation in the redistricting process on behalf of the members of the commission this evening. The next meeting for public input is scheduled for tomorrow, May 6, 2022, at the Henrietta Town Hall Meeting Room in Henrietta at 7 p.m. Thank you. We will see you tomorrow.
Will we get our questions answered that we've sent in to you?
Good.
We're just